morning, members. Good morning, members.
Good morning.
Retake.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr.
I'd like to call the Environment, Natural Resources Policy and Finance Committee to order. Today's date is Tuesday, March 7th. We have before us the minutes from March 2nd. Representative Newberger, would you move the minutes, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. After careful scrutiny, I move the minutes.
Thank you. Any additions or corrections, comments on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of the minutes as presented signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The minutes are approved. Thank you. Representative Detmer, good morning.
Good morning, Chair Fabian.
We've got House File 1863 before us, and that will be, my motion will be to, my motion on 1863 will be to lay it over for possible inclusion in a future bill. So with that, Representative Detmer, proceed with your testimony. Identify yourself and your guests when the time is appropriate. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, State Representative Bob Detmer. And currently, Wetland Conservation Act, WCA, restricts where replacement wetlands can be located in a county boundary. And that county percentage of pre-settlement wetlands remaining. Federal and state laws have moved towards the watershed-based approach. Now, I live myself in Rice Creek Watershed District, where my home is. And however, the county-based approach to locating wetland replacement has remained the WCA statute. These county-based boundaries conflict with watershed boundaries and consequently have created an unintended consequence of artificially dividing the bank service areas and preventing the watershed approach to replacing wetlands. The proposed amendment to Section 103G, .005, Subdivision 10B and 10 Hotel, and Section 103G Golf, I always, as a military, I use those acronyms, 222 and Subdivision 3, aligns county-based pre-settlement areas of the state watershed-based bank service area boundaries, resulting in a consistent watershed base, implementing the wetland replacement, and allows local governments to implement WCA to locate wetlands replacement as a high priority areas of the watershed, increasing the value of the ecosystem and the public. And this bill also expands and provides incentive for the use of wetland banks within the watershed, and while eliminating unintended consequences of the marketing of private wetland bank credits, and provide consistency of the federal law. A note here is that the Minnesota Association of Watershed Districts has worked closely with the Board of Water and Soil Resources, Bowser, on the issue of, and Bowser is full agreement with this bill. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'd like to turn it over to my two testifiers.
Thank you, Representative Detmer.
Thank you, Chair Fabian and representatives. My name is Phil Valfiore. I'm the administrator at Rice Creek Watershed District. And I wanted to just share with you on this board, you also received it in your packet related to this bill, a local example how managing wetland replacements on a watershed basis makes sense for the district's local taxpayers, the statewide taxpayers as well. Also is a win for the environment. Thank you very much. So again, we're in Rice Creek Watershed District. You can go this way. Thank you. And you have this on your packet as well for this. So we're in Rice Creek Watershed District, North Metro area. We're in Anoka County and Washington County. This is just familiar. This is the Washington-Anoka County line. Here's Interstate 35, right where the 35E and W come together in the North Metro area. Most of you have been by that if you lived in the state for a while. So we've developed a wetland bank in this area a few years back because what we do is we work primarily, as most watersheds do, on public drainage repair projects in both Anoka and Washington County, as also to provide flood control for those communities in this watershed. What this unintended consequence of this bill is trying to fix is that we built this wetland bank. It's one of the highest priority areas for wetland banks in our entire 186 square mile watershed that we've worked on. We've spent a couple $1 million developing. Unfortunately, when we're doing public drainage projects, even if we have an impact up here from a Wetland Conservation Act perspective, because of this county line and the unintended consequences that the pre-settlement areas in Anoka County is a different classification than in Washington County. Anoka County is a 50 to 80 area. and Washington County is a less than 50 area. And so because of that unintended consequence, when we try to do repair projects in, say, Washington County, we cannot utilize the wetland bank to replace those wetland credits within our wetland bank located in Anoka County. So if we can get this revision, this will save taxpayers. We estimate that if we can use this bank, it's going to save taxpayers up to 80% per acre of wetland replacement. We can do about $22,000 per acre for replacement here. And if we had to replace, say, in Washington County, it'd be up to $80,000 per acre. And so we believe that this is a win for the taxpayer, and also obviously, because we've spent so much time researching this is probably one of the best wetland replacement areas in the watershed. So it's also going to be a win for the environment. And also, we've worked with both the communities in this area as far as putting this into their land use planning. So they've used this as a greenway corridor, so it has a higher value of wetland overall for the entire corridor. So we've been working closely with the Board of Water and Soil Resources as well. They're in support of that. We have Les Lem here, who's going to explain to you some of the statewide benefits of this amendment as well.
Thank you. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. I'm Les Lem, the Wetlands Section Manager with the Board of Water and Soil Resources. We're the agency with administrative responsibility for the Wetland Conservation Act. Excuse me. So Mr. Belfiore gave a great example of kind of on the ground and locally what this means, and I'll just give a little bit more background and a little broader perspective. So the Wetland Conservation Act is the state's primary wetland protection law. It allows for certain impacts to wetlands if other replacement wetlands are provided. It was passed in 1991, and it was originally based on county boundaries. We do have very significant differences in the wetland resources across the state. Very abundant wetlands in the northeast, where very few have been lost. Very few wetlands in the west and south, where most have been lost. And the law recognizes this by establishing what's called pre-settlement areas. These pre-settlement areas are county-based. But federal and state laws have moved toward a watershed-based implementation of wetland replacement requirements. So both laws use what are called bank service areas to implement wetland replacement, which essentially are large watersheds. But those county-based requirements have remained in statute. So, and this creates some conflicts. Representative Detmer alluded to some of them, and Mr. Belfiore gave a great example where these county-based pre-settlement areas will split the bank service areas and actually prevent the watershed approach. They also fragment and isolate wetland bank markets. They conflict with federal law, and there's numerous other complications associated with them. In my opinion, it's probably the biggest problem with the Wetland Conservation Act right now, but I also think it's a very simple statutory fix. Essentially, we maintain the recognition of those significant differences in wetland resources across the state, but we're able to align those areas with the bank service areas. So essentially, we can bring together the pre-settlement area boundaries and the bank service area boundaries, and that will create consistency with federal law and within the Wetland Conservation Act, removes those conflicts we just talked about, and it improves the siting and targeting of wetland replacement. And that's what this bill will do. It really should be non-controversial, and we fully support it.
Thank you. Mr. Belfiore, I've got a question. Did you say in your testimony that it could cost as much as $80,000 per credit, or did I hear you incorrectly?
Representative Fabian, that is correct. If we were to have to purchase the credits, if you will, or the replacement mitigation in Washington County through the normal market, the Bowser Bank, for example, they can run as much as $80,000 per acre in Washington County, even more in Ramsey County, which is another county we do public drainage repair projects on. They can go over $100,000 per acre. Again, with this wetland bank that we worked very hard on over the last several years, we're averaging, or we estimate about $22,000 per acre is what we can build those credits for, and we'd have to spend 4 to 6 times that if we couldn't use that bank because of this unintended consequence.
And how many in this area that you've developed in the lower left-hand quadrant of your, just off to the west of the county line, how many acres are in there?
That wetland bank is about a 100-acre bank, and we believe, that's about a 100-acre bank, and we partnered with a private landowner as well to develop that.
And Mr. Belfiore, how long do you anticipate that those approximate 100 acres will last in your plan?
Representative Fabian, I believe that should last us at least 5 to 8 years, depending on how aggressive the Board of Managers of the Rice Creek Watershed District want to implement these drainage repair projects around the district, but we believe in the next 5 to 8 years, we'll be doing some repair projects that would need to mitigate in that location if this bill is passed.
So one more question, Mr. Belfiore. You said, go ahead, that's fine. You said that it cost you about excuse me, about $22,000 per acre to develop this project. But yet at the same time, you're also saying that it could cost as much as $80,000 to cross the county line. Explain to me why the difference there.
Chair Fabian.
That's okay, don't worry about it. Okay, I'm just Dan, for you.
Thank you. If the Rice Creek Watershed District was to do a drainage repair project in Washington County, and because of this boundary that Mr. Lem has spoke about, if we were to do a project here, we would have to replace the wetlands according to the Wetland Conservation Act, mitigate for those within the Bowser Bank, which the current market for the in Washington County to replace those is roughly $80,000 per acre with private bank, correct. And so if we were able to get this amendment, we could use the credits, the mitigation in this wetland bank that we've already created. And again, that would cost 4 times roughly.
So, Mr. Belfiore, just to be clear, it's the difference in the development costs in the two counties. And that has to do with land values and the condition of the area to begin with before you start the development. Is that correct?
Chair Fabian, we would have to purchase out of the Bowser Bank at $80,000. That's right. It's based on the development cost that Bowser establishes through that bank.
Thank you. Members, questions? Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could you just describe why a drainage repair project results in the need to purchase wetlands?
Mr. Belfiore.
Yes, Representative, the drainage repair projects have certain requirements when you're doing, well, first, drainage repair is bringing back the public drainage system to the previous constructed elevation that was constructed maybe 100 years ago in this case. We're allowed by law to bring that back and maintain or conduct maintenance on the public drainage system. There are certain wetlands that we have exemptions for, and we have certain wetlands that we have to replace. In this case, it's the open water wetlands that are not exempted from the Wetland Conservation Act, and those are the ones that we would have to replace, mitigate for in this bank when we conduct a public drainage project in Washington County or Ramsey County.
Thank you. Anything else? Representative Luke?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This question is for our testifier from Bowser. Can you provide us with a clear perspective on how this change would impact all of the state of Minnesota and all of the counties throughout the state? Is this, the bottom line here, is this something that's going to be a really positive thing for all 87 counties? Or is there
Mr.
going to
Lamb.
be some friction here?
Mr. Chair, Representative, I don't foresee any friction at all. Essentially, what we're doing is just removing this splitting of the bank service areas, but it doesn't change any authority of the counties as they implement the Wetland Conservation Act. There should be no negative effect that I can see for any of the counties.
Thank you. Okay. With that, I'll renew my motion to have House File 1863 laid over for possible inclusion. Oh, Representative Detmer.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, and committee members, just on a personal note, it'd be good if you if you live in an area where there's watershed districts, meet with those people. Learn something about what goes on with how they operate and how they work with the various communities and the counties and the other organizations that deal with water. And my 10 years in the legislature now, working with Rice Creek, that is in my area, I've learned a lot. And I didn't know how much there was involved with watershed districts, but it's quite an education. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The bill's laid over. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your testimony. Representative Fisher, the House File 2028. And members, we do have this room 5 reserved for 5 o'clock or whenever we would need to come back this evening.
Mr. Chair.
Yes. Representative Hanson.
Mr. Chair, and I noted last night that Representative Gunther bought pizza for his committee if it was there at night. So if we go late, are you buying pizza?
Representative Hanson, actually, what I would rather do is starve you folks so we can get through this a little bit faster, okay? We'll see. Yeah. Representative Fisher, welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Chair Fabian. Appreciate the opportunity for presenting the bill here, 2028.
And the bill will be laid over for possible inclusion.
Very good, thank you. The reason the bill came about is in the Northeast Metro, we've been having issues with groundwater, with not having enough. And so we've had a lot of communities that have been working very hard to reuse water, and one of the things they've looked at is stormwater. And one of the things that came to my attention right around the first of the year is that several of the communities were finding that to reuse stormwater for irrigating, that the permitting process was becoming so long and so elaborate that for some situations it appeared that the developers could easily go in and get a well permit in a week or so versus having to wait up to 5 months to get permitting just to reuse stormwater. So a number of the cities that wanted to do the right thing, Hugo, Woodbury, et cetera, were finding it very challenging and trying to get people to do the right thing when the permitting process was getting in the way. And so that was the reason we brought the bill forward. I've got 2 people with me here today to help go over the bill. One is Craig Johnson from the League of Cities. He'll help explain it. And then I've got Sharon Duchette from the city of Woodbury, the city that first wrote the letter that brought this to my attention.
Representative Fisher, I think we'd like to move your amendment first.
Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll move the A1 amendment. Any discussion to the amendment? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The amendment is adopted. The bill is now in the shape that the author would like.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Johnson, proceed with your testimony, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Craig Johnson with the League of Minnesota Cities. Very much appreciate that this issue has come forward for consideration this session. As many of you remember, for a number of years now, we've been working on trying to get efforts made to improve the ways that we reuse water before we discharge it into lakes and rivers. And one of the places where we have opportunity to do that and a tremendous amount of water flowing is through urban stormwater. We have all kinds of different stormwater retention and capture and use strategies that Sharon can talk a little more about. But the end result is that one of the things that can be done with stormwater is to use it as an irrigation source in certain settings. As we went into doing that, we found that DNR was seeing the way they were reading statute to be that they needed to have a permit process for that. Which is not the case with other stormwater reuse. We can infiltrate, we can have trenches, we can have rain gardens, we can do all kinds of other things that take the same water and prevent it from going out the pipe at the end of the city system. Those don't need an appropriation permit. This does. So in working with them over the past year and discussing it, this seemed like the most direct way to help expedite this system. So we've worked on this language. The A1 amendment that you just adopted was to address a couple concerns that the department had with the initial language, and we'll continue talking with them as we move forward since the bill will be laid over. This is a pretty significant deal. We have a lot of developments right now that would like to include this as part of their development plan. One, to reduce the amount of stormwater coming off their properties, and 2, to reduce the amount of irrigation water that's being coming coming out of groundwater supplies. And both of those are pretty significant goals, both for those individual entities and for the cities who are trying to meet requirements for reducing groundwater use in the North and East Metro, as an example, which is why we have Woodbury here. And I'm sure one of the reasons Representative Fisher first heard about this. And secondly, we have very stringent volume reduction requirements in our stormwater permits, where we need to be reducing volume of the amount of water coming out of the system in some way to meet our state and federal permit requirements for stormwater as cities. So we are hoping to streamline this to make it a more efficient process that does not get in the way of cities trying to do what I think we all would like, which is reduce the amount of groundwater used for irrigation and improve the stormwater reuse and stormwater.
Thank you. Ms. Doucette?
Thank you, Chair Fabian and committee members. I am Sharon Doucette. I am the Environmental Resources Coordinator with the City of Woodbury. I'm also the Steering Committee Chair for the Minnesota City Stormwater Coalition. Particularly for this bill, stormwater reuse and irrigation really, as we've been discussing it today, is primarily a stormwater management technique for volume control. The water conservation benefits or using this water as an irrigation supply is not the primary motive typically in developments for these system installations. They are an added benefit, particularly for cities in the North and East Metro groundwater management area. The reuse of captured stormwater achieves multiple benefits, including the reduction of volume control as required by our stormwater permits. It helps achieve pollutant reduction goals and improve water quality for lakes that are already listed as impaired. And it offsets the need to use groundwater for these slightly lower value uses like turf irrigation, increasing the sustainability of our water supplies for drinking. The design and implementation of these systems is already regulated under a city stormwater permit through the MPCA that has volume control requirements. There are a variety of ways that Craig alluded to meet these volume control requirements. Using an irrigation system is just one of them. Unfortunately, right now, it's the only one that needs additional permitting outside of the MPCA stormwater permit to be allowed to be constructed. It needs an additional permit from the DNR. That permit adds additional time and regulatory responsibilities for both the city and for the implementer of the project. So this proposed bill language provides the opportunity for cities to continue to provide a dual water benefit, both surface water quality and water conservation from our groundwater, without another layer of regulation by another state agency. The City of Woodbury, in the beginning of January, actually issued a temporary ban on these systems in any new developments because of this requirement, and we didn't think that we would be able to continue implementing them in the city. The City of Woodbury already has up to 10 of these systems in some form of installation or approval throughout the city, but this was a serious enough issue for our city council that they allowed us to issue a temporary ban on them. We would really love to go back to being able to use these systems. We think that they are an excellent way to meet stormwater quality requirements as well as conserve groundwater. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Wagenius,
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair.
welcome.
I'm a big fan of water reuse, and I understand all about volume reduction, but you're only talking here about quantity, and I haven't heard the quality issue. And the reason I bring that up is because it was the necessity to remove some stormwater and the fill that had come in a stormwater pond in northeast suburbs when we discovered that it was hazardous because of PAHs. And so I am not hearing anything about testing for the quality of the water before you spread it someplace else. And that seems to be since we've had a history, and the condition that made that history hasn't gone away. Talk to me about talk to all of us about quality.
Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Chair and Representative Wagenius, absolutely, water quantity and quality are both major parts, as Ms. Doucette pointed out, and we would agree that that's a big concern. The reason we have, initially, stormwater management systems with retention ponds and things of that sort was a water quality concern. The stormwater, as I think most of us can recall, was mostly about just getting water off the streets and out of the basements and down to the nearest river as fast as we could initially. We realized that was causing problems and so started slowing it down to get sediment and organic materials out. The issue that the representative was referring to, Mr. Chair, is a number of years ago now, polyaromatic hydrocarbons, PAHs, were found to be in some stormwater ponds, the silt at the bottom of those ponds, in such high magnitudes that the silt, if you dredge the pond out, had to be disposed of in a lined landfill. Since that time, the state of Minnesota has prohibited the use of the coal tar sealants that were found to be the major source of that on driveways and parking lots. So I think we probably now have a management issue with the silt that remains there, but we should have helped reduce the amount coming in. Overall, though, I would just point out that we already have stormwater reuse and through irrigation and other means going on all over the state. The current process is not looking at that in any different way. It's not addressing that. There isn't a monitoring requirement right now. And this doesn't change that. The only thing that this legislation changes is whether you need a water appropriation permit. So if Department of Health still determines that there needs to be a look for some sort of contaminants given the use that the water would go to, they still have the authority to do that. So does the Pollution Control Agency. This doesn't change that at all.
Ms. Doucette.
Chair Fabian, thank you. Committee members, that actually is being addressed right now through the interagency reuse team led by the Minnesota Department of Health. They are doing a health risk assessment to determine if there is further treatment requirements that need to be implemented with these projects based on human health.
Representative Wagenius.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad folks are looking at it, but I hear looking at it, not.
Could you speak into the microphone, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
I hear you're looking at it, but I don't hear any system in place to check the quality of the water that's being moved. And just because we ban PAHs, don't mean that they're still there. And the issue will be water coming off a parking lot or roads, more probably than, because PAHs don't just come from coal tar. They come from all sorts of things that haven't fully combusted. So I am concerned that this goes into effect without any way of looking at the quality of what you are spreading. Because dilutions, we always thought dilution was a good idea, but it turns out to have some, kind of get you in the end.
Representative Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Representative Wagenius. We talked a little bit about this yesterday with the water quality. And I think there's a couple things that are in process. We know we've got the interagency group that is taking a look at things. I know that from the Legislative Water Commission, this has been an area on water reuse that we've talked about multiple times, putting pressure on so that we can start getting some resolution here, because there's a lot of times right now where water use is a very valid way to be addressing the issues that we have in our environment. And right now, even if we have the permitting, it doesn't change the landscape out there. All this water is being used without testing anyway. And so this is one of the issues that as we go forward, as we work with the different communities, as we work with the different state agencies, that we're going to be taking a bigger look at. But whatever happens there will have no bearing what we do with what the legislation that we have in front of us right now.
Thank you. And members, just so you know, if we come back this afternoon, there'll be a spelling test on polyaromatic hydrocarbons. Representative Becker-Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess to just kind of get back, I guess, to the quantity issue, we have a really cool project that was completed about a year ago in Roseville where we reuse stormwater from a softball field to then irrigate the softball field. And I know that project is supposed to save, I think, like 1 million gallons of water per year. And I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit about, you said it could serve water-based for people's benefit, how much water is that really saving to do these kinds of projects?
To the testifiers. One of Fred? Okay.
Thank you, Chair Fabian and committee members. It really depends on the size of the system, but I would agree if a system is well-designed at the downstream end of a large subwatershed, the way we like to try and implement projects in the city of Woodbury, it is millions of gallons per year that you can save in groundwater use using stormwater for irrigation purposes.
Representative Becker-Finn? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson.
Just very briefly.
Yep.
The only systems that need a permit are ones that use more than 10,000 gallons a day or 1 million gallons a year. So every permit affected by this would be in that category.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Hanson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And could we have PCA or DNR or both come down just to give their insight on this bill?
Oops. Thank you. Identify yourselves for the record, please.
Good morning. I am Julie Ekman. I'm a section manager at the Department of Natural Resources in the Ecological and Water Resources Division.
And I'm Mike Nelson with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency.
Proceed. Ms. Ekman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to start by saying that DNR is fully supportive of stormwater use. We are part of this committee at the Department of Health that is looking at water reuse in general. And we want to encourage innovative uses of water to save our groundwater resources and also to save our potable water resources from being used for outdoor uses. So we fully support this. And we do appreciate the author's language to put some parameters around what is stormwater, because this is something that we have been struggling with internally at the DNR, trying to figure out stormwater is a water of the state. So we've been struggling with how to parse that out from other waters of the state, and we think this bill language helps us move in the right direction. As you know, DNR has a responsibility to manage the water resources of the state in a sustainable way. We want to manage all water, including stormwater that's mixed with other waters of the state, so that for the benefit of all water users. So we want to continue to work with the author. We think there's some room there to tighten it up a little bit. Particularly, we are concerned about how these constructed features will be pulling groundwater into them. These features do need to stay wet, so they will have some groundwater in them, and groundwater use does need an appropriation permit from the DNR. So we will work with the author on that. Also, we are responsible for gathering data around water use in the state. And this is important data. Its uses are broad and many, and report this to federal agencies like USGS and the Great Lakes Commission. So water use data is something very important to all Minnesotans, and we think that there's a way to resolve that. We have already had some discussions about partnering with PCA, but we know that this bill language should apply to others that aren't under a PCA MS4 permit. So we see a way to resolve this, and we want to continue to work with the author on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nelson.
Regarding this particular bill, as mentioned before, it is in relation to the DNR water appropriation permits no longer being required when water is being reused from constructed stormwater management BMPs. The PCA does not see a problem with this. Regarding Representative Wagenius's question on the PAHs, PAHs are hydrophobic, and so they, as Mr. Johnson had mentioned before, it's more in the sediment where that concern is. So they're not typically in the water component itself.
Thank you. Representative Wagenius.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, the first witness said that you are working with health to come up with some criteria for quality. When do you expect that to be ready?
Ms. Ekman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Representative Wagenius. I am not particularly working with Health Department on that. As a part of this review of water reuse, water quality is something that they are looking at, water safety. There will be a report out, an annual report on the progress of this committee's work that should be out sometime this summer.
Representative Wagenius.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And for PCA, are you, I take you at your word about the sediment, because that was the problem we were having, but are you testing the stormwater for quality issues other than PAHs?
Mr. Nelson.
Mr. Chair, Representative, I'm not aware myself at this point that that's some information that we can get you. Typically, this is where the stormwater goes through some kind of best management practice, but I can find that information out for you.
It would be good for us.
Representative Wagenius.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It would be good for us to know if somebody is testing for the quality of this water that's being spread, and if there are going to be ways to make sure that we are not doing anything with unintended consequences. And we'll certainly be asking the agencies about this. Just, it seems a little bit like the cart before the horse, that you don't know. Well, we'll see if you know what's in the water.
Thank you. Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to thank Representative Fisher for bringing this bill forward. I'm a co-author on the bill. I support the bill. I would just like to say it's very interesting that when government regulation becomes too burdensome for other governments, then we seem to be willing to mitigate it, but we don't always have the same attitude when government regulation gets in the way of business.
Well said, thank you. Anything else, members? With that, I'll renew my motion to lay over House File 2028. Thank you, Representative Fisher, and testifiers. As amended, yes. Next up, Representative Torkelson, House File 1731.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that House File 1731 be referred to the Legacy Committee.
And author's amendment, the A1. Would you like
Yes,
to move
I'd
that
like
at this time to get the bill in the shape that you would like?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move the A1.
Okay. Discussion to the A1, members? Okay, very good. So, the A1 amendment is before us. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The amendment is adopted. To your bill, Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Today we are getting our look at the Clean Water Fund recommendations that have been presented by the Clean Water Council. This bill accurately reflects the recommendations that came out of the council, and that is how I'm approaching this from the get-go. The council, I think most of you are familiar with the council and its membership. I won't go through those details, but we do have a Clean Water Council member here today, and I think it'd be appropriate if she talked a little bit about the council's perspective.
Thank you, Representative Torkelson. Ms. Bissett, welcome back.
Thank you,
Please
Representative.
restate your name for the record.
Thank you, Representative Fabian and committee members. Good morning. My name is Sharon Doucette. I am a member of the Clean Water Council now. Minnesota, so I'm just going to point out that I did have a PowerPoint, but we're not going to use it this morning, so you do have the slides in your packet. I'll run through those relatively quickly. We may skip a few to save on time as you look very busy today. And also we have the Clean Water Council, Clean Water Fund and Policy Recommendations Report. I'm going to be referring to a couple specific pages in this report, so you may want to have it out. So again, my name is Sharon Doucette. I'm a member of the Clean Water Council. I've been on the council, I think, for 3 or 4 years now, and I served on the BOC this last 2 years. Minnesota has many lakes and rivers that need to be cleaned up or protected. I'm sure you all have special memories of a particular lake or river. I think growing up in central Minnesota near the Brainerd Lakes area and spending a lot of time up there and around Lake Alec is probably the reason I became a water resources professional. So again, just running through the slides, there's some information on what the Clean Water Council is. The Clean Water Council was established in 2006 and is required by statute to make budget recommendations to the legislature and the governor on the expenditures of the clean water funds. The photo that's shown there is the Clean Water Council members in 2016 on the second slide. The Clean Water Council fiscal year 18-19 Clean Water Fund and policy recommendation reports. You have that. I'm going to cover a few highlights from that report and try to reference the page numbers so that you can follow along. So slide number 3 just shows the entity representation of the 28-member Clean Water Council. The idea in establishing the council was to bring together a diverse group of citizens, legislators, agencies, and the University of Minnesota to discuss the best way to get clean water in Minnesota. It's important to have this group of citizens, similar to other councils, make legacy funding recommendations to the legislature. Representatives Torkelson and Wagenius, as well as Senators Osmek and Rest, currently serve on the council with the rest of the voting members and agency representatives. I am one of the 2 city government representatives on the council. So slide 4, the Clean Water Fund is one of the 4 legacy funds. As stated in the constitutional amendment, the Clean Water Fund dollars may only be spent to protect, enhance, restore water quality, and protect groundwater and drinking water resources. Slide 5 talks about the process that was used to develop our fiscal year 18-19 Clean Water Fund recommendations. The council developed guiding principles and funding priorities early in 2016. Note that those guiding principles and funding priorities are found on pages 5 and 6 of the council report. Over a 2-year time frame, council members, particularly members of the Budget and Outcomes Committee, spent hundreds of hours reviewing all of the funding proposals for Clean Water Fund dollars. I served on the Budget Committee, attending all-day meetings once a month for 2 years, in addition to our monthly council meetings. The council had a very public process with multiple opportunities at meetings for public and the members to share comments and ideas. Funding ideas were solicited from the public and from environmental agencies 2 times throughout the process. We also had very open discussions with the agencies about the program outcomes from previous years and their budget recommendations. All meetings are open to the public and for the past year have been available via WebEx. So these discussions help the council compare all the various funding proposals from agencies and stakeholder groups. So slide number 6 gets into the big picture of where the Clean Water Council made our funding recommendations. We've broken it up into 4 funding categories and types of activities that are supported by the Clean Water Fund. Pages 8 and 9 of the council report have this overview similar to the graph shown on slide 6. And then pages 14 through 17 provide more detailed funding recommendations and kind of break these 4 up into smaller pieces. I do want to point out, though it doesn't specifically get called out in the way we've broken out the information for this report in the graphics. The constitutional amendment does state that at least 5% of the Clean Water Fund must be spent only to protect drinking water sources. The council has always recommended more than this because drinking water is so important. The fiscal year 18-19, the council recommended that up to 17% of the Clean Water Fund dollars be spent to protect drinking water. And again, you can't really see that in that pie chart because it is split up into multiple categories, different programs within those 4 categories. So the first and largest category for funding recommendations from the Clean Water Council is the implementation activities. We recommended $105 million, or about 48% of the proposed budget, to be spent on projects that clean up and protect lakes and streams. Real shovel-ready projects on the ground that should result in improved water quality. So if you look at slide 8, it gives an example of outcomes from this implementation category. Grants to local government units to install conservation practices and some of the sediment and phosphorus benefits that those projects that have been installed have resulted in. It's important to point out here that only 1 out of every 4 projects that are shovel-ready that request funds through these grant programs are able to be funded because there is not enough Clean Water Fund dollars to meet the needs. There is another slide on outcomes. I'm going to go ahead and skip that one. It talks about grants and loans projects funded or administered by the Public Facilities Authority, improving water quality through stormwater, wastewater programming. Slide 10 is the planning and technical assistance part of the pie. It is the second largest funding category. Approximately $67 million, or 30% of the council budget recommendations went to this category. Using data that's collected from the category that I'm going to discuss on the next slide, people need to develop plans and provide technical assistance to get the right practices in the right places to help improve or protect water quality. So that is what that funding is recommended for. Moving on to monitoring, mapping, and data analysis. This is the third funding category. And what this one really is the state needs to conduct water monitoring to understand what water bodies are polluted and which ones need protection. This monitoring includes groundwater monitoring activities to determine if we have enough water supply in our groundwater aquifers. The next slide, slide 12, just shows an outcome from that monitoring, mapping, and data analysis. The graphic shows the watersheds with the highest loads of nitrogen in red and the smallest loads of nitrogen in green, information that was collected through the state monitoring program. The next slide is another outcomes from the monitoring, mapping, and data analysis programs that have been implemented by the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, looking at private wells and nitrate results and looking for pesticides in surface waters. The smallest and last category of funding in the Clean Water Council budget recommendations is for research on slide 14. This research covers both agricultural and urban and suburban stormwater research to determine on-the-ground project efficiencies and share results to replicate the success of projects in other places throughout the state. So slide 15, closing thoughts. The Clean Water Council and its subcommittees have met multiple times per month over the past 2 years to develop the recommendations in our report to you. These are the recommendations of a diverse group of citizens, legislators, and agencies sitting at the table together who are committed to clean water. Minnesota voters approved the Legacy Amendment with a belief that an increase in funds could improve the state's water resources. Clean Water Fund dollars are not enough. We, as Minnesotans, need to use the funding wisely and will need another funding source and partnerships to get to clean water. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Torkelson.
Mr. Chair, I'd just point out that the legislators on the Clean Water Council and the agency representatives are non-voting members of the council. The voting members of the council are the ones you saw listed in the presentation.
Thank you. I'd like to have DNR, Met Council, Parks and Trails, so it's Erica Rivers, Emmett Mullen, and Renee Mattson. Representative Wagenius and Hanson have questions. Wagenius?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It was just looking over the your brochure, and I see that you are doing what's been done in the past to having the Department of Agriculture check private drinking water wells, or at least allow people to have their wells checked. But the Department of Ag only does it in areas that it considers vulnerable and are farmed and have a certain percentage of row crops. There's a lot of other places in Minnesota where the wells should be checked. I didn't see anything, and maybe I just missed it, for the Department of Health to do provide resources to have private wells tested? Was I missing that?
Ms. Doucette?
Thank you, Chair Fabian. I will have to go back and check the 68 line items for projects and programs that the council has recommended, but I do believe that there was funding for the Department of Health to expand their monitoring program, but I can get you those numbers.
Okay, so I'm specifically
Representative Wagenius?
looking for monitoring of private wells where the Department of Ag is not doing it. So that's one thing. The second thing is, I noticed in there that you are doing some work on source water protection for municipal wells, which is good. But the 20% of Minnesotans drink the Mississippi River water, and I didn't see anything in there about protecting the Mississippi as a drinking water source. Was I missing something?
Ms. Doucette?
Thank you, Chair Fabian. There is funding for the Department of Health. Again, I can run through the recommendations again, but for the Department of Health for surface water intake protection as well.
Representative Wagenius?
That it would be interesting to understand what that is. I mean, there are 20% of Minnesotans that do drink the Mississippi River water, and we haven't had a source water protection plan from the Department of Health. So if we're getting one, that would be good. But if we're not, that's something that we need to talk about.
Ms. Doucette?
I can get that information if I would say, sorry, Chair Fabian, if there is someone from the Department of Health that knows the budget items better than me in more detail related to the drinking water protection,
Well, as they
that would be
come up,
helpful.
They can just
Thank you.
testify.
Okay. Representative Hansen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and 2 questions. Representative Torkelson, just looking through the bill, I see a number of Bowser appropriations. Checking, are there any fee title acquisition appropriations in the bill?
Representative Torkelson?
Representative Hanson, I do not know. I have to check the detail.
Representative Hansen?
Mr. Chair, maybe Ms. Doucette knows, are there any fee title acquisitions in the bill?
Ms. Doucette?
Thank you, Chair Fabian. I do believe that there are funds in some of the programs for conservation easements. I am not sure if there are funds for acquisition through title. I can certainly find that out for you.
Representative Hansen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that would be probably important to know, because if there are some fee title, there may be some PILT consequence as well for cost. Ms. Doucette, second question, Mr. Chair, if that's okay?
Yep.
Ms. Doucette, in 2015, when the legacy dollars were moving through, there was, in the middle of the night, a change to the council's recommendations where there were appropriations of $11 million over the biennium from the Clean Water Fund for administrative costs for soil and water conservation districts. To my knowledge, that's the largest change ever to the council's recommendations. Did the council ever send a letter or make any noise about that change to the council's recommendations where $22 million were shifted from the council's recommendations to administrative services for soil and water districts?
Ms. Doucette?
Thank you, Senator Fabian. The Clean Water Council does believe that the budget that we recommend is the best use of the limited amount of funds to get the best return for water resources in the state. Our understanding was that money was used to support the buffer program. That was something that was certainly not within our budget recommendations. The timing was not something that we had discussed the buffer program in detail within the council.
Representative Hansen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the legislature made changes based on needs at the time with new information. I think that money was distributed at about $100,000 per district, if I remember correctly, regardless of the size or demand or need. It went out in an equal appropriation, but I think there's a precedent for the legislature responding to needs and appropriating.
Thank you. Other questions? Representative Green? Yep, okay. Representative Green, would you excuse me just for a second. Sir, identify yourself and proceed with your testimony quickly, please.
Thank you, Chair Fabian. My name is Tom Hogan. I'm the Environmental Health Division Director for the Minnesota Department of Health to try and answer Representative Wagenius's questions in regard to source water protection planning. The funding that the council has indicated for source water protection planning is for those required source water protection plans that really deal with groundwater areas within the state. In their policy statement, and the council also provided funding for this, they asked the department to do kind of a broad review of drinking water issues facing the state, including looking at intake protection plans for those surface water sources. So that's a start to look at the intake protection plans for surface waters. I'm not sure if that is the adequate funding to actually develop those intake protection plans for those cities.
Representative Wagenius?
Well, thank you. I don't know what an intake protection plan means. Maybe everybody else does, but our water, both St. Cloud and Minneapolis and St. Paul and a whole bunch of suburbs in the metropolitan area drink Mississippi River water. So St. Cloud is just as important as the other communities. A lot of states have source water protection plans that look at the watershed, not just at what's coming in right at the intake, because by then it's too late. I mean, we're talking about prevention, not, and I don't know whether you're talking about prevention or just looking at what's coming in at the intake.
Chair Fabian.
Mr. Hogan.
Representative Wagenius. Sorry for my confusing statements. Source water protection planning is really focused on groundwater protection for the state under the Safe Drinking Water Act. Intake protection planning is focused on surface water intake protection planning. That's not a requirement of the Safe Drinking Water Act, which the Department of Health oversees within the state, just as a clarification.
Representative Wagenius?
No, sometimes common sense needs to prevail. It may not be a legal requirement from you because people assume most drinking water is coming from wells. 20% of Minnesotans drink Mississippi River water. And as a practical matter, Minnesotans need to know what the Department of Health is doing, one, to prevent pollution from getting into their drinking water that they have to clean up, and exactly what's in the water. So I'm hearing you don't know either of those, so we have some work to do.
To the testifiers.
Thank you, Chair Fabian. Representative Wagenius, if you look on page 21 of the report, there are 2 policy recommendations that the Clean Water Council has forwarded on as part of this packet of information along with our budget recommendations. The one on page 21, advanced drinking water protection, it does include the Clean Water Council's recommendations for the testing of private wells providing drinking water. So outside of the Department of Ag testing, as well as number 5, requiring that surface water-based community public water systems prepare source water intake protection plans So these are things that the council is certainly recommending. We did put funding to support these activities. Again, we're not entirely sure if it's enough for the Department of Health to undertake these activities, but it was our initial start at that problem.
Representative Hanson to this point.
Well, Mr. Chair, I just was going to say, you and I had talked about bringing in donuts, but I did check with the committee's intake protection plan and decided that it wouldn't be appropriate for this meeting, so.
I've also noticed too that starvation is a great way to, or hunger is a great motivator to end meetings. Representative Wagenius to this point.
To this point, on number 5, you say that surface water-based community public water systems prepare a source water protection plan. They have no jurisdiction over their surface water, so it really needs to be the state, and specifically the Department of Health that does that work. For St. Cloud, the water's taken north of the city, and for Minneapolis, St. Paul, and all the suburbs, the water is taken north of the city in Fridley. So the communities have no jurisdiction to prepare a plan. That is the responsibility of the Department of Health.
Thank you. Representative Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to the council member, I have asked a couple of times for a detailed breakdown of your projects, and either they're not available or they're not printed out. Do you have detailed breakdown of your projects?
Ms. Doucette.
We did not prepare a handout today listing particularly the budget items or the 61 programs that is available from our staff.
Representative Green.
Mr. Chair, I'm not going to prolong this, but I went through the bill, and I don't come up with the same numbers you did on your graph, and that's why I'd like that detailed breakdown, because it looks to me like for real projects, not including the acquisitions, you're looking at maybe 89 million, and 69 million of that looks like it goes out into other projects for local grants, which I understand, but within those, then we don't know if those are going for real projects or also for more assessments and more monitoring. And so it would be nice to have that detailed breakdown if I could get that.
Ms. Doucette.
Chair Fabian, thank you. Committee members, yes, we can have our Clean Water Council staff provide the breakdown of the programming and our recommended budget.
And Ms. Doucette, if I could ask too, then that would be made available to the committee and Representative Green before this bill is heard in legacy. Is that appropriate, Representative Green?
Yes.
Excuse me. Paul.
Thank you.
Representative Torkelson.
I would just add that in general, the council does not work on a project-by-project basis. They work on a more of a programmatic approach to this spending. The details of just exactly how those funds are spent on a project basis would be more readily available from the agencies that administer those programs.
I think they heard you. Speaking of the agencies, Ms. Rivers, Parks and Trails people, so Ms. Rivers, Mullen, Emmett Mullen, and Renee Mattson, come down, please. Director Rivers, would you proceed, please? Identify yourself for the record.
Good morning,
Welcome.
Mr. Chair, members. My name is Erica Rivers, Director of Minnesota State Parks and Trails. Thank you for the opportunity to provide some input this morning on the Parks and Trails portion of the legacy bill. In your packets, I understand you have two handouts. One is a letter that looks something like this, that is from the Legacy Advisory Committee supporting the 40-40-20 breakdown, which we'll discuss in a minute. The second, like your previous presentation, is some PowerPoint slides, which will loosely follow this morning for your reference. We're sitting here today, the three of us, as colleagues, really committed to advancing a mission and a vision of a well-integrated and world-class system of regional and statewide parks and trails. And so I want to just introduce the co-presenters here today as well. Again, my name is Erica Rivers. I'm Director of Minnesota State Parks and Trails. I oversee 75 Minnesota State parks and recreation areas as well as 25 state trails.
I'm Emmett Mullen. I am with the Metropolitan Council, and I'm here on behalf of the 10 implementing agencies that make up the Metropolitan Regional Park System. We operate and manage 54 regional parks in the metropolitan area, and 8 special recreation features, and over 360 miles of regional trails.
Good morning, Renee Matson. I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails Commission. The commission is divided into 6 districts throughout Greater Minnesota, and we currently have 47 regionally designated significant parks and trails within our system.
So together we represent the joint leadership of Minnesota's 3 regional and statewide parks and trails entities across Minnesota, and we've been working very closely together over the course of the past 3 biennia to really coordinate the work between the 3 different implementing agencies and the investments made by Legacy Parks and Trails dollars across the state of Minnesota.
So on page 2 of your packet, I'm going to speak to in 2008, Minnesotans passed the Legacy Amendment that you're all well aware of. Of the funds collected, 14.25% go to parks and trails of state and regional significance. And that's the purpose behind that little graphic on the left that sort of identifies parks and trails of national significance, state, regional, and local. Well, the Legacy Amendment for Parks and Trails really focuses on those parks and trails of state and regional significance, and that's why we're here today. In 2009, the state legislature directed the development of a 25-year Parks and Trails Legacy Plan, and that was created, again, in collaboration with the partnership. And this Legacy Plan provides broad direction for how those legacy funds should be invested. The legislature in 2009 also directed really significant citizen engagement and outreach on the plan. It was an 18-month planning process. It was very rigorous. There were 17 listening workshops held throughout the state. Hundreds of people attended those. There was intentional outreach to over 1,000 youth and young adults. And there was a really extensive web engagement. So now I'm going to go to the third page on your packet. And it talks about the 25-year legacy plan vision. The plan sets forth a really powerful vision. And a couple of the key elements in the vision are that by 2035, our world-class parks and trails connect everyone to the outdoors. They inspire a legacy of stewardship for the natural world, and they allow Minnesotans to experience the full benefits that I know all of you know that our state and regional parks and trails provide Minnesotans. The plan also did 3 big things, and first it directed that we work together, so that's one of the reasons we're here. From the plan, from the direction of the plan, emerged a 17-member Legacy Advisory Committee that oversees legacy implementation. The plan also set a broad strategic framework that Renee is going to talk about, the 4 strategic directions or pillars of the plan, and it also prioritized implementation of the plan. So, next page, I guess that's you.
So now we're proceeding to page 4 there. I mentioned this letter, and Emmett has mentioned the importance of us sitting here together. And this letter really endorses the 40-40-20 split. Members of this committee who have been around for a considerable amount of time will remember that the Parks and Trails legacy allocation process started off in a fairly rocky manner. There's a lot of contention about how to allocate the funds across the 3 implementing systems. And so very wisely, the legislature back in 2010, 2011, asked the 3 implementing agencies, the entities that oversee parks and trails throughout the state of Minnesota, to get together and figure this out so that we didn't have to do it here in front of this committee every biennium. So each of the agencies was directed to appoint 3 members to that a budget committee or funding committee, which we did. We met over a course of about 6 months, had an independent facilitator to help us work through how the funds would best be allocated. And the result of that 6 months of work was this report here, and we can get a copy of that to you should you want a copy of it. But the final result was a compromise between the 3 implementing agencies, which we call the 40-40-20 split. 40% of the funds go to Metropolitan Council Parks of regional significance, 40% to Minnesota State Parks and Trails, and 20% to Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails. And the agreement was set for 3 biennia. And this was a result of, as I said, 6 months really of work trying to find a formulaic approach that would work for all the 3 implementing agencies. In the final analysis, the data didn't exist to do a formulaic approach, and so we reached this compromise that we have worked with for over the course of the last 2 biennia. This would be the 3rd biennia that we're working on that. I sit here today, and I think I speak for the other 2 members, my other colleagues to my right, in saying that the agreement that was created back in 2011 and 2012 has facilitated an enormous amount of collegiality and working together over the course of the past 2 biennia. I anticipate that we're going to see the same kind of collegiality and cooperation over the course of the next biennium as a result of the compromise that was reached. In terms of how each of the implementing agencies allocates or decides which projects and programs to fund with using the legacy funds, we really do follow, as Mr. Mullen mentioned, this Parks and Trails 25-year legacy plan. I'd like to turn it over to my colleague Renee Mattson from Greater Minnesota to describe the 4 pillars that exist in that plan.
Thanks, Erica.
Director Mattson, identify yourself for the record and proceed with the testimony.
Renee Mattson, Executive Director of the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails Commission. Got the shortest title of anybody. This 5th slide really outlines briefly the 4 strategic directions that have been referenced already. And the 25-year legacy plan really set the framework for the investment that we make across those 4 pillars. So if you go to the 6th slide, that talks about our first pillar, which is connecting people to the outdoors. And I think we can all agree that it's of great importance to not only build wonderful parks and trails and maintain them throughout the state of Minnesota, but really the idea of getting people out there to enjoy what we have, our natural resources, is really one of the most important pillars. At least I always think of that way. Each agency does have a different strategy for connecting people to the outdoors, but I think generally we all agree that promoting programs and education and interpretation that gets people out is very important, along with outdoor skill training, increasing the multicultural Minnesotans enjoying our parks and trails, enhancing accessibility. That's a key point and something that we all strive to work on and improve, along with getting our youth and the next generations involved in a habit that includes recreating in the outdoors and does not always include some sort of tablet or device in front of them that seems to be more important. So generally, I think all of us agree that these are important resources or parts of our connecting people to the outdoors pillar. The next pillar describes acquiring land and creating opportunities. And again, all of us generally agree that pursuing high-quality acquisitions that create connections among trails and in parks is of extreme importance, and acquisitions are very important to that. Pursuing priority natural and cultural resources and focusing on expanding and connecting our trail connections. That's also very important within the acquiring land and creating opportunities pillar. The next pillar is taking care of what we have. And again, such an important pillar for us to pay attention to. many of our parks and trails throughout the state are well-loved. And of course, the more well-loved they are, the more in need of repair and rehabilitation that they are. So this is a terribly important pillar, I think, for all of us, to make sure that we maintain those world-class facilities. Also, again, increasing accessibility when we're doing those repairs and rehabilitations, keeping a mind towards that, and managing and restoring the natural landscapes throughout our state. And then finally, as we've talked about already, coordination among partners. We do have a very strong partnership. I was very lucky. I missed all of the dust-ups about how we would do that and take care of it. I got to waltz in here about a year and a half ago when things had been settled down and everything was moving along wonderfully, and have great colleagues within Met Council and the DNR, because being a one-person shop, I certainly don't have the resources available to me, and they've been wonderful in partnering and helping us along as we create a system plan for the state of Minnesota. So I'm greatly appreciative of our cooperation. But one of the things that we're doing is developing a new website that will be a one-stop shop, if you will, for parks and trails resources within the state of Minnesota. Certainly, Explore Minnesota Tourism does a fabulous job of that, but they're tasked with, of course, marketing and promoting many, many more amenities within the state than simply the parks and trails. And when we launch this new resource this coming early summer, I think it's going to be an incredible boost to all of our park and trail communities. Within the state of Minnesota, of course, the 47 parks and trails that Greater Minnesota has within our system, we neither own nor manage any of those. So this is a way for us to help promote the resources of those parks and trails, along with DNR and Met Council and our wonderful resources together. So that's another example of what we're doing to not only, it touches on a lot of pillars, really, the coordination effort, but also connecting people with the outdoors, not just Minnesotans, but visitors from outside the region as well.
All right.
Chair Fabian, I just wanted
quickly.
to thank you. Yeah, so very quickly, thank you for the opportunity to present together today. We appreciate that. We want to make the point that we really are guided by this legislatively directed 25-year plan. We all operate within a statutory direction and framework of the plan, and we are committed to continuing to work together and with Minnesotans and with the Legacy Advisory Committee as we move forward into legacy implementation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, what we'd like to do is... Oops, I'm sorry, Representative Green, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the same question. Do you have a breakdown of some of the projects that you've got? Because I'll tell you, out of all the bills I've read, this one is probably the most vague. I mean, it's just, most of it is, I know you say you vetted them, but most of them are just big chunks of money that are put out there for people to apply for grants for.
To the testifiers. Ms. Rivers, I'm sorry, Director Rivers.
Mr. Chair and members, thank you, Representative Green, for that question. Each of us implementing agencies produces for the legacy committees in the House and Senate a report on January 15th of each biennium. DNR's happens to look something like this, but each of the implementing agencies has one. The final page on that report does have a list of breakdown of projects that we intend to fund in the future biennium. Emmett?
Mr. Mullen.
Mr. Chair, Representative Green, the Metropolitan Council passes through 100% of the legacy funds to our 10 implementing agencies. It is those 10 implementing agencies that direct how the funding will be allocated within their individual systems. So it's parks like Three Rivers, Carver County, Scott County, and so forth. And they're the ones that actually determine the projects that we aggregate up and share with you.
Representative Green.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So you're not really vetting them, you're just taking your recommendations and then putting them into a file and then recommending them again. But I would like to see that paper. I'm sure maybe I have it in my stack of stuff, but from the other agencies to a breakdown. And then just one question / comment. there's trails out there now, and I know that you've got in here that you want to take care of what you have, and they're really not being taken care of all that great. And so when we go to acquire more, it would sure be nice if we would first take care of what we've got. I have an elderly gentleman in my district who was actually riding his bike on one of the trails, paved trail, and because of a break in the trail, he fell and broke his collarbone, and he's not healing very fast.
Thank you. Next, Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate, I think we're going to move the DE1 amendment, and we would have Ms. Flood. Is that what you'd like to do? So,
Yep, so you're moving the DE1, and then we need to move the A4 to get the bill in the shape that you want.
Yes, that is correct. I'd move the A4 amendment.
All right, so the amendment is before us. All those in favor of the A4 to get the DE1 in the shape that the author would like, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the A4 is adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and my understanding is the DE1 as amended was drafted after the Parks portion, the A1 amendment. So if by chance this, the DE1 as amended passes, then we would need to move the A1 on there to carry those parks along. Before Ms. Flood gets started, I want to just have members raise their hand if they were here in 2008 when the legislature passed the legacy amendment to go to the voters. Who was here in 2008?
I'm not telling.
I think Cornish, Hoppy. So there's, I think, 5 vintage members left. And then in 2009, 2009, when the first appropriations were done, who was here in 2009? So we added one vintage member there. So Representative Torkelson, it's been several years now have gone by, but as that happens, a lot of times people forget the language discussions that were part of that, and I think it's important, and it was discussed earlier that the Clean Water Council was actually established before that in 2006, rather than in 2008. And Representative Torkelson was, I believe, a citizen member of the council before being elected to the legislature. So sometimes history is important to know. The DE1 as amended is the governor's recommendation for the appropriations for the Clean Water Fund with some changes that were included from the Clean Water Council, of which the A4 was one relating to lead and water. I would say the most significant changes to this are providing additional dollars for the CREP initiative, shaving some appropriations from the council's recommendations, but putting more money into CREP, and in addition, more money into Forever Green than the Clean Water Council's recommendations. So if Ms. Flood could maybe talk about the governor's recommendations on, Mr. Chair, if that's okay.
That would be fine. Ms. Flood.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, for the record, my name is Rebecca Flood. I'm Assistant Commissioner for Water Policy at the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. I also chair the Clean Water Fund Interagency Coordination Team. And there is a presentation that you have in the packets, and I can go through that. And in this brief presentation, I'm happy to highlight some of the differences between 1731 and the DE1. So on page 2, titled Developing the Governor's Recommendations, as a part of that, 7 state agencies with water resource responsibilities coordinate our efforts through the Clean Water Interagency Coordination Team, as I mentioned. The team's purpose is to develop budget recommendations for the governor's consideration and to ensure that funds, once they're appropriated, are used efficiently and effectively. the Board of Water and Soil Resources, Department of Agriculture, Department of Health, the Public Facilities Authority, the Department of Natural Resources, the Metropolitan Council, and the Pollution Control Agency all have representatives that serve on that interagency team. We employ a systematic approach to look at our water resources over the course of the 25 years of the constitutional amendment and the life of the Clean Water Fund, with a focus to our implementation efforts in order to avoid bureaucratic layers, eliminate duplication, and make sure that we're targeting implementation activities. We also provide information to and coordinate with the Clean Water Council. Next slide has a map that shows our watershed approach. As Representative Hansen mentioned, in 2006, the legislature passed the Clean Water Legacy Act, which required that agencies develop a statewide approach to managing our water resources. And with amendment funding in 2008, we began developing, and we've developed our watershed management framework, which this map illustrates. It is also being used very heavily by our local implementation partners. This approach guides our actions, so everything from our monitoring and assessment, developing plans and strategies for water protection and restoration activities are all guided by this watershed approach. This information is used by our local partners for their targeted implementation and the dollars that pass through to them as a result of this legislatively directed approach. The next slide has a pie chart of what the governor's recommendations are. The governor recommends $214,124,000 be spent in 6 major categories: 11% for monitoring, 11% for watershed restoration and protection strategies, the broad overarching statewide plans that we develop, 17% for groundwater and drinking water, 3% for applied research and tools, and then 58% for on-the-ground implementation. And you'll note some of those percentages are different than what the Clean Water Council has. We divide up those activities somewhat differently along different criteria. In the next slide, titled Similarities and Differences, that's where I want to highlight that in comparison to what the governor's recommendations are in the DE1 and House File 1731, there's broad agreement on what to do for our water resources. So that's a really excellent start. The differences really mostly regard the dollar amounts and funding sources. Major areas of differences, as Representative Hansen pointed out, are in the Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, or CREP, which is a voluntary on-the-ground implementation program targeted to the most critical areas for pollution reduction. The governor's recs are for $18 million for this program. This bill has $3 million. However, in order to leverage the $350 million of federal funds, the state still needs $96 million, and we know it's going to take a variety of different funding sources for us to get there. Therefore, the governor has recommended $18 million in clean water funding, $30 million from bonding, along with funding from outdoor heritage and LCCMR. This program has received strong bipartisan support for its locally driven, targeted implementation. The second area of difference I wanted to highlight is Forever Green. The governor's budget recommendations are for $900,000 in Clean Water Fund versus $2 million that are in 1731. In addition, I would like to mention that Representative Bly has authored a bill, House File 1076, that has $10 million for Forever Green, but the funding source for that is from the general fund. There's also a difference between this package and the governor's recommendations from Voyageurs National Park. Those recommendations, the Voyageurs National Park, this project regards sewage treatment improvements within the park, and agencies recommend that there is an established process of ranking projects for sewage treatment activities and funding through the Public Facilities Authority for that program. And then lastly, the other highlight I wanted to make was regarding stormwater. The governor's budget recommendation is deciding to shift focus from doing research for looking at efficiencies of stormwater best management practices and actually focusing more on technical assistance for cities to do on-the-ground implementation activities. There's also a technical area of difference between the governor's rec. Based on the November forecast, the governor's recommendation leaves $2.5 million on the bottom line as a reserve amount, so I wanted to highlight that. There's also a two-pager handout in your packet that outlines the budget recommendations by agency. So you can take a look at that, and it provides a few more additional details by agency on those recommendations. So I'm happy to take any additional questions that the committee may have, and there's also representatives from each of the agencies that sit on the interagency coordination team if there are more specific questions for agencies.
Thank you. Representative Torkelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'd like to thank Representative Hansen for bringing the governor's proposal forward, and thank Ms. Flood for outlining the proposal. A couple of things. One, I think it's important to first remember that the Clean Water Council is actually the governor's Clean Water Council. He appoints all of the voting members, and it seems like he's not satisfied with their work. There has been certainly a great benefit in the development of the interagency working group. That is a great side benefit to the Clean Water Council. They probably wouldn't have formed that group if it wasn't for the council, and their work coordinating between the agencies is very important and very helpful. But there's been a tendency for them to kind of try and run the table and get exactly what they want in their recommendations. And if I've learned anything around this place, it's nobody gets everything they want. We all have to make compromises, and there seems to be an unwillingness for the interagency group to make those compromises. They have their chance to present their desires to the Budget Outcomes Committee, just like anyone else, and communicate regularly. There are some issues in this legislation that do need to be dealt with. She mentioned the reserve. There is, when the council's recommendations were assembled, we didn't know the exact amount of money to be handled, and that will be dealt with in the Legacy Committee. In addition to that, we've seen some changes in the council membership this year, and I haven't talked to the governor. I'm not sure exactly why he made those changes, but two experienced members of the council who wanted to continue their service were not reappointed, and others were appointed in their stead. That's certainly the governor's prerogative to do that, but I would strongly urge this committee to approve the council's recommendations, move them forward to the Legacy Committee, where we can continue to do the work. Representative Hansen, you pointed out that there have been changes made in the past. I've been part of that activity, and I feel for good reason. When things are happening late in session, sometimes we have to find ways to get things done in order to move other things forward, and I did that with some discomfort, but it was what was agreed to, not only by me, but by many others as we tried to finish up that difficult work in that particular session. I'd also go back to when we funded the Aquatic Invasive Species Center. Representative Wagenius and I worked together to accomplish that, and under those circumstances, I did have time to go back to the council and review that recommendation with them. And they, I don't remember if they wrote a letter at that time, but they certainly were well aware of why we had decided to make those changes in that particular funding cycle. I'm happy that you pointed out that your vintage is older than my vintage. I don't know if for white wine or red wine, it depends as to which is better, I suppose. But members, the council, as you've heard earlier, works very hard to put these recommendations together. They consider a variety of input, not only from agencies, but also from other interest groups, and they come up with what I think is a good package of recommendations. There will be some adjustments that need to be made, but this particular set of adjustments, I think, is, in my mind, going a little too far at this point in time.
Thank you. Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Torkelson. I think The important thing with this is that the council wrapped up its work, but then we had the signature for the CREP agreement. So things happen after the council did its work. And the reason that these councils are advisory is because things happen. And you referenced things happened, at the end of session with a bill, but here's something where things happened where we have a chance to implement a lot of good on-the-ground practices with the Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, something where I think the hunting and angling community, the environmental community, the agricultural community actually agree that there's a benefit for the Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, and it attracts federal dollars that may not be there in this uncertain time with the federal government. So we know they're there now, and so maximizing our ability. I think when the Board of Water and Soil Resources does their sign-up, you're going to see a tremendous interest from landowners all across the state on wanting to enroll in this proven conservation practice, and that's why I think the federal government had signed the agreement with Minnesota, is because we can get stuff done. I appreciate that Ms. Flood corrected me, which is important, that this actually, the DE has less money for Forever Green, but it does have more money for the St. Louis River estuary than was in the original bill, and I think that's very similar in terms of federal money that's available that may not be there in the future. So, members, I think Representative Hoppe, you mentioned on the floor yesterday, there's the Outdoor Heritage banquet tomorrow night. I'm sure many members are going to go here. Here's a vote. Here's an opportunity to show that we can support conservation, maximize the dollars that are here for agriculture. Here's a way to get dollars in hand for implementing conservation practices. So I think this is very important, and Mr. Chair, I'd ask for a roll call.
Representative Torkelson.
Thank you.
Roll call's been requested.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Hansen. Well, you mentioned a couple of very important projects. The CREP negotiations are a continuing process. Whether or not the Clean Water Funds will be the major source for those matching funds, we don't know at this point. But we do know it can't be the only source. So that is something that certainly will be considered. You also mentioned the St. Louis Estuary, a project that I am very familiar with and feel very strongly about. And I would just remind you that the governor's failure to renegotiate a bonding bill and get it passed in special session caused us to be unable to fund that project in a timely fashion. Finally, I would just quote from the governor. He wrote this in relation to the LCCMR bill of last year. He said, "I am deeply disappointed the House of Representatives chose to either completely omit or reduce appropriations for 23 projects that were recommended by the LCCMR board. This action seriously undermines the integrity of a process that includes citizens who volunteer hundreds of hours each year reviewing and recommending projects for funding." We need to respect the work of our citizens to the best of our ability, and that's why I would recommend a no vote on this amendment.
Thank you. Roll call having been requested on the DE1 as amended to House File 1731. The clerk will take the roll, and the chair votes nay.
Heinzman.
Nay.
Hansen.
Yes.
Backer. Becker-Finn.
Yes.
Bliss.
No.
Clark.
Yes.
Cornish.
No.
Eklund.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Green.
No.
Hoppe.
No.
Hornstein.
Yes.
Johnson B.
No.
Johnson C.
Yes.
Lehman.
No.
Lewick.
No.
Newberger.
No.
Sundin.
Yes.
Swedzinski. Torkelson.
No.
Uglum.
No.
Wagenius.
Yes.
There being 13 nays and 9 ayes, the amendment is not adopted. Next up testifying, we have Trevor Russell, Friends of the Mississippi River. And then Steve Morse, if you gentlemen would come up together.
Good morning, Mr. Chair,
Good
Representatives.
morning. Identify yourselves for the record.
Trevor Russell, Friends of the Mississippi River. I will defer to former Senator Morse to speak first.
I do have a couple of handouts here, if I could get those shared with the committee. Thank you, Chair Fabian and Representative Torkelson. First, want to introduce myself, Steve Morse, Executive Director of the Minnesota Environmental Partnership, state's largest coalition of environmental conservation organizations. And I'd like to first just say thank you to Representative Torkelson for carrying this bill and his work with the Clean Water Council and for standing by the citizens' recommendations and the citizen process along the way. I do feel it's unfortunate that the split between the council and the administration spills into the legislative body here. I think that's unfortunate and it should be worked out ahead of time. But we would like to say that we strongly stand with the council recommendations and with the bill as Representative Torkelson is carrying it. I have two things I want to share with you, and I'll try to be brief because I know we're running out of time. First, I know some of you have seen the copy of the extensive survey we did about a month ago on voter attitudes on a number of issues. Again, it was done with a nationally recognized bipartisan polling firm team of a Republican and Democratic team. If you look to page 3, we did ask a question about the legacy amendment, and this is the third time the same question has been asked in the state since the amendment was adopted in 2008. And what we're seeing is that fully 75% of the public, when just asked cold, say that they support the legacy amendment and would like to see it move forward. What is most interesting is that we have over 46% now who strongly support it. If you look down to the bottom of page 3, you'll see that the numbers in favor are generally growing over time. We asked this question in 2008, 2016, 2017, and you'll see that the strongly in favor are now approaching half of the population and fully up to 46%. So the public seems to be coalescing around support for the legacy amendment. Not a big surprise because there are a lot of really positive stories to tell about it. On the back page are the rural numbers and the breakdown on the partisan level. Not surprisingly, Democrats are self-identified Democrats are much more supportive, fully 93%, independents 70%, and Republicans 55%. Still, all parties support the amendment in one form or another, and same is true in metro and urban areas. So strong support for the amendment. And then I'd like to call your attention to the letter that's before you. This is a letter from 27 different organizations. And what it basically says is that we support the Clean Water Council recommendations for the upcoming biennium, which is embodied in the Torkelson bill. There's a number of reasons for this. We think it is the best long-term strategy. It also supports public involvement. And take a look at the back. You'll see there are a number of Minnesota Environmental Partnership groups, but also a number of other groups that aren't part of our coalition, but strongly feel we need to support the citizen process and the recommendations, ranging from Ducks Unlimited to Pheasants Forever and other groups who have been active in working on the amendment. And with that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions or turn it over to Mr. Russell for a few comments.
Members will be recessing to the call of the chair in well, we might as well do it right now. So, thank you. Recess to the call of the chair.